chosen one, stop for one breath, because the verdict is already in, and it is not the one you have been dreading. You passed. You passed the final check. And the reason no one told you sooner is that you have been so busy bracing for failure that you could not hear the word that was already spoken over your life. I know what these last months have felt like an exam that never ends, like every bill, every closed door, every silent prayer was one more question on a test you were sure you were failing. So you tried harder. You worried, as if worry were a form of effort. You lay awake doing math that never balanced, convinced that if you just stayed anxious enough, you could somehow earn your way to the other side. Hear me now. That season is over. Not because you finally tried hard enough, because the check was never measuring your effort. It was confirming that something inside you was finally ready to receive. And from this moment on, God is funding your life. Not someday, not after one more trial, from this very moment. But I have to tell you, the part almost no one says out loud, the part that explains why you still feel like you are failing, even though heaven already ruled in your favor. The provision has been released. The question was never whether it would come. The question is whether the receiver inside you is clear enough to catch it. And worry, the very thing you mistook for diligence, has been holding that receiver at half power. So stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly what the final check really tested, why the funding could not reach you until now, and how to restore the one thing that lets you finally receive what was already signed and sealed and sent with your name on it. If you feel something loosen in your chest as I say this, that is not my words. That is recognition. That is the part of you that has known for a while that the striving was supposed to end. And here at the very start, I want to give you one small thing to hold, because a message like this only works if you stay long enough to receive it. If you are here, if you are still listening, comment the words, "I passed," not as a wish, as a record, because the ones who name the verdict out loud are the ones who begin to live like it is true. Let me tell you what I see when I look at you, because you have not been seen clearly in a long time, and part of what broke you was doing all of this without a single witness. I see someone who has been carrying an invisible ledger. Every day you wake up, and the first thing that runs is the account. What is owed? What is short? What might collapse if one more thing goes wrong? You have become an expert in a kind of vigilance that no one asked you to master and no one has ever thanked you for. And here is the cruelty of it. The more faithful you were, the heavier the test felt, because you were the kind of person who refused to cut corners. You would not lie your way forward. You would not abandon the people who depended on you. So you took the long road, the honest road, and the honest road is the one with the most hills. Somewhere along it you began to believe that the difficulty was a verdict, that the delay meant disqualification, that if you were truly chosen, it would not be this hard. I want to correct that belief tonight, gently, because it is the first thing standing between you and the funding. The difficulty was never the verdict. The difficulty was the test itself, and a test is not a punishment. A test is what comes right before a promotion. You do not test someone you are about to discard. You test someone you are about to trust with more. Think about what a final check actually is. It is not the beginning of the process, it is the end of it. You do not run a final check on someone who just started. The word final means the work is essentially done. It means everything before it has already been weighed and accepted. And this last step is simply the confirmation before release. So if you are feeling the pressure of a final check, understand what that pressure is telling you. It is telling you that you are standing at the end, not the beginning, that the long middle is behind you, that what remains is not more proving, it is receiving, and yet you cannot feel it. That is the strange part, is it not? The verdict is in your favor, and your body still braces like the verdict is against you. Your shoulders are still up around your ears. Your jaw is still set. You still flinch when the phone rings. Somewhere, the message that you passed was sent, and somewhere between heaven and your nervous system, it got intercepted. That interception is what we are going to name and dissolve tonight. Because until we do, you can be funded on paper and still feel bankrupt in your body. So, let me name it. Let me name exactly what has been intercepting your sense that you passed. Because once you see it, it begins to lose its grip. Here is a symptom you will recognize immediately. You get a moment of good news. A door opens a crack. A little money comes in. A prayer seems answered. And instead of relief, within minutes, sometimes within seconds, your mind reaches for the next threat. You cannot rest in the good thing because some part of you is already scanning the horizon for what will go wrong. You have caught yourself doing it. A blessing arrives and you brace, as if joy were a setup for a fall. You tell yourself, this is wisdom. You call it being realistic. You call it not getting your hopes up. You have built an entire identity around being the one who stays alert, so the family does not get blindsided again. And I am not going to shame that. It kept you alive through seasons that would have flattened other people. But I have to tell you the truth about what it is actually doing now, in this season, because the thing that protected you in the storm is the thing keeping you dry-mouthed in the rain of provision. Here is the hidden mechanism. Constant worry does not make you more ready to receive, it makes you less able to, because a mind locked in threat detection is a mind that has narrowed. It has pulled all its resources to the walls, to the perimeter, to survival. And a narrowed mind cannot perceive an opening, it can only perceive danger. So when provision comes toward you, subtle at first, an idea, an introduction, an unexpected favor, the vigilant mind does not register it as provision. It registers it as one more thing to be suspicious of. The gift knocks, and the anxious receiver hears a threat and does not open the door. There is a name for this, and I want you to carry it out of this message, because naming it is the beginning of dissolving it. Call it the guarded receiver. The guarded receiver is a mind so trained to brace that it can no longer relax enough to catch what is being handed to it. It is not broken. It is not faithless. It is simply stuck in a posture that made sense in the old season and makes no sense in this one. And now let me do the thing that I think you have needed someone to do for a long time. Let me rewrite your past with this in mind. Those years you thought you were failing, you were not failing. You were passing a test whose grading you could not see, while operating with a receiver that had been narrowed by survival. So the provision that did come, you could not fully catch, and you concluded that it had not come at all, and you called yourself behind. You were never behind. You were guarded. There is a difference, and the difference changes everything. It means the problem was never a shortage of blessing. It was a narrowing of reception, and a narrowing can be reversed. That is the whole hope of this message. You do not have to become someone else. You do not have to earn a new verdict. You already have the verdict. You simply have to widen the receiver again to let it return to the openness it had before the world taught it to brace. And here is the agency I promised you, the small thing you can do right now, before we go one step further. Take a single breath and, on the exhale, let your body accept that the result is already in. Not hope it, accept it. Feel your shoulders come down half an inch. That half inch is not nothing. That half inch is the guarded receiver beginning to open. Every time today that you catch yourself bracing after good news, you are going to do exactly this. You are going to exhale and let the verdict be true. This is not positive thinking. This is you repairing the instrument that catches what God is already sending. Now that you can see the guarded receiver, you can begin to understand your whole story differently. because the next thing I have to show you is why the final check had to come the way it did, why it had to feel like the hardest part, and why the timing of your relief is not arbitrary, but is arriving at the exact moment you were built to hold it. You were formed for this, and I mean that with a precision most encouragement does not have. The reason the final check felt like the hardest stretch of the whole journey is that a final check always does. It is designed to, not to break you, but to confirm that what was built in you will hold under the full weight of what is coming. Consider what would happen if the provision had arrived 3 years ago, in the middle of the striving, when the receiver was at its most narrow. You would have grabbed it with clenched hands. You would have spent it defending against fears, instead of building what you were called to build. You would have poured a season of blessing into a bucket with survival holes in the bottom, and it would have drained, and you would have blamed yourself. And the enemy of your peace would have used that to convince you that blessing itself was not safe for you. God did not withhold to punish you. God timed the release to the repair of the receiver. There is a mercy in the delay you have been cursing. And this is where I have to bring you something, because part of the reason I can speak this clearly about the guarded receiver is that this is no longer only a spiritual observation. There is a body of research, quiet and largely unknown in the communities that would benefit from it most, that maps almost exactly onto what the wisdom traditions have called a narrowed mind. A team of scientists spent years studying why a mind that has lived under prolonged pressure loses access to its own fuller capacity, and, more importantly, whether that access can be restored. What they found reframes everything about why you have felt half present to your own blessings. And it raises a question I want you to hold until later in this message. What if the reason you cannot feel that you passed is not spiritual at all, but is the physical state of the very instrument you use to perceive God moving? Hold that question. We will return to it, and the answer will matter more than you expect. For now, come back with me to your story, because there is a second thing the final check was testing, and it is more tender than the first. The first test was whether you would keep going when the grading was hidden. You passed that. The second test was quieter. It was whether you would stay honest when dishonesty would have been faster. And chosen one, I watched you pass that one too, in 100 small rooms no one else saw. The moment you could have taken the shortcut and did not. The relationship you could have used and refused to. The version of the truth you could have shaded and kept clean instead. You thought those moments were invisible. They were the actual exam, and every one of them you passed. Here is why that matters for the funding. Provision at scale is not safe in the hands of someone who will bend to get it. So the check had to confirm that you would not bend. And now that it has been confirmed, the ceiling that was over your resources can be lifted, because the character that holds resources without being corrupted by them has been verified in you. Do you see it? The very integrity that made your road slower is the thing that just qualified you for more. You were not being held back. You were being made trustworthy. I want to give you language for this, a way to hold your own history that will not collapse the next time a hard day comes. You are not a person who has been failing. You are a person who has been getting verified. Say it against the old story every time it returns. Not failing, getting verified. The verification is now complete, and a completed verification does not lead to more testing. It leads to release, which brings us to the thing you have been afraid to believe. The thing this whole message is built to make safe for you again. That it is truly over. That the striving genuinely ends here. And that what replaces it is not a new and subtler form of anxiety, but an actual capacity to rest while provision flows. Let me show you what that rest is built on, because it is far more solid than a feeling. There was a man in the oldest stories whose life is almost a diagram of what you are living. His name was Joseph, and long before there was a palace, there was a pit, and then a prison, and years that looked from the inside like pure abandonment. He had been shown a future of provision as a boy, And then everything that happened seemed to mock that promise. Sold, forgotten, accused of something he did not do. If anyone had reason to believe he had failed the test, it was him. But look closely at what was actually happening in those hidden years. In the house of his slavery, he was put in charge of everything. In the prison, he was put in charge of everything. Over and over, in the lowest places, he was quietly being handed responsibility and quietly proving he could hold it without corruption. The pit was not the absence of the promise. The pit was the verification of the man. And when the final check came, when he stood before the most powerful man in the region with the survival of a nation on the line, he was ready, not because the suffering had ended, but because the suffering had finished its work. And here is the detail almost everyone misses. When the provision finally came to Joseph, it did not come as a small relief. It came as an entire economy placed in his hands. The years of famine that were coming would have destroyed him if they had arrived while he was still the boy in the coat. But by the time they came, he had the mind to steward a continent. Do you understand what I am showing you? The delay was not withholding. The delay was the widening of the receiver until it was large enough to hold what was always meant to come. So, let me ask you to do something here, because this is one of those moments in the message that is meant to be marked, not just heard. If you have ever felt like Joseph in the pit, promised something as a younger version of yourself, and then left in a place that seemed to contradict it, comment the word steward. Not because it earns anything, because it declares that you finally understand what the hidden years were building. You were not being buried, you were being enlarged. And the ones who name that shift begin to carry themselves like people who are about to be trusted with much. Now, I want to make the mechanism of your funding very plain, because vague hope will not hold you the way clear truth will. There is a difference between provision being released and provision being received, and almost no one is taught it. Released means the decision has been made in heaven and the resource has been set in motion toward you. Received means it has actually landed in your hands, your accounts, your relationships, your real life. And the gap between those two, the gap where so many chosen ones sit for years confused and aching, is almost never a gap in the willingness of God. It is a gap in the receiver. Think of it plainly. A signal can be broadcasting at full strength, and if your instrument is tuned to static, you will hear nothing and swear, the station is dead. The station is not dead. The receiver is off its frequency. And a mind that has spent years in survival is a mind tuned to static, to threat, to the low hum of what could go wrong. It is not tuned to the frequency on which provision actually arrives, which is the frequency of a settled, open, present mind that can notice the opportunity, say yes to the introduction, act on the nudge, and hold the increase without panic. This is why some people who seem to have less faith than you receive more than you. It is not that heaven loves them more. It is that, for whatever reason, their receiver stayed open and yours was narrowed by a level of pressure they never had to survive. That is not a rebuke. That is the most compassionate explanation of your delay that exists, and it happens to be the true one. Your faith was never the problem. Your reception was. And reception, unlike a verdict, is something that can be restored starting today. So the question stops being, why has God not funded me? And becomes something far more useful. How do I repair the receiver so that what has already been released can finally land? That is the question the rest of this message answers, and the answer has two halves, one that is entirely spiritual and one that, to my own surprise, turned out to be physical. Stay with me, because the physical half is the piece almost no one in our world has been told. Let me take you somewhere for a moment, not into fantasy, into a memory of the future, a place you are closer to than you think. Picture an ordinary morning, some months from now. You wake before the alarm, and for the first time in longer than you can remember, The first thing that runs is not the ledger. There is no cold arithmetic waiting at the edge of your consciousness. You lie there and you notice something almost foreign. Quiet. Not the quiet of numbness, but the quiet of a person who is no longer bracing. You get up. You move through the morning without that low background hum of dread. And when an opportunity crosses your path that day, a message, a conversation, an idea that a year ago you would have been too tired and too guarded to even notice, you see it clearly, and you have the inner room to say yes. That is not a richer version of your current anxiety. That is a different nervous system. That is what it feels like to live from a receiver that has been restored. And I want you to understand that the money, when it comes, and it will come, is almost the smaller part of it. The larger part is that you get to be present for your own life again. You get to feel the provision instead of just surviving near it. You get to enjoy your children without the ledger running underneath. You get to build instead of defend. Feel how much your body wants that. That wanting is not greed. That wanting is the memory of who you were before the world taught you to clench. And if you feel that longing rising right now, I want you to do something with it instead of letting it ache. Comment the words, "I receive." Say it as the receiver reopening. Not, "I hope," not, "I wish," "I receive." Because the ones who practice reception in the small act of declaring it are training the very capacity we are trying to restore. But I would be lying to you if I said the only thing between you and that morning was time. There is one more obstacle, and it is the most personal one, because it does not live in your circumstances. It lives in you, and it is this. Some part of you does not believe you are allowed to rest while the provision flows. Some part of you believes that if you stop worrying, you are being irresponsible, that your vigilance is the only thing holding the roof up, that to relax is to invite the very disaster you have spent years outrunning. I need to speak to that part directly, because it is not your enemy. It is a frightened protector. It learned, in some real and probably early season, that the moment you let your guard down was the moment everything fell apart. So it took a vow. It vowed to never be caught off guard again, and it has kept that vow faithfully at enormous cost to your peace for years. You cannot shame a protector like that into standing down. You can only show it that the season it was protecting you from is over. So here is what I want you to say to it, gently, the next time it flares. Thank you for keeping me alive. The danger you were built for has passed. You are allowed to rest now, and then breathe. Because here is the thing your frightened protector never understood. Your worry was never what held the roof up. Grace held the roof up. Your worry just kept you from enjoying the shelter. The roof does not need your vigilance. It never did. It needs your presence underneath it, finally able to rest. And notice what is happening as I say this. Notice that the mechanism is always the same. The guarded receiver, the frightened protector, the vigilance mistaken for virtue. All of it is one thing, wearing different clothes. A mind narrowed by an old season, still running its old program in a new one, which is exactly why the repair has to happen at the level of the mind itself, not just the beliefs in it, but the actual state of it. And that is where the physical half of this, the peace I promised you, is about to become very important, because you can decide to rest 1,000 times. And if the instrument itself is stuck in a narrowed state, the resolve will not hold. Stay with me. We are almost to the part that makes the resting stick. There is a specific fear I have to name now, because it hides inside almost every chosen one who has waited a long time, and it will sabotage the funding if it stays in the dark. It is not the fear of failure. You made peace with failure years ago. It is the fear of success. More precisely, it is the fear of what you might become or lose if the provision actually arrives. Listen to whether this is true of you. Some quiet part of you is afraid that if you finally have enough, you will become someone you do not respect, or that the people who loved you in your struggle will not know how to love you in your abundance, or that you will have no excuse left, and the dreams you have been protecting by never quite reaching them will finally have to be tested in the open. So you keep the receiver narrow, not only out of old survival, but out of a strange loyalty to the version of you that suffered, as if receiving would be a betrayal of everyone who is still struggling. Hear me clearly. Your poverty was never serving anyone. Your struggle blessed no one. The idea that staying small keeps you humble or keeps you loyal is one of the most expensive lies ever sold to a faithful person. The provision coming to you is not a betrayal of the ones still waiting. It is a preview for them. You crossing over is how they learn. The crossing is possible. You are not abandoning anyone by being funded. You are going ahead of them to hold the door. Let me help your body release this, because this kind of fear does not leave through argument alone. It leaves through the body. So do this with me for a few seconds. Wherever you are, let your attention drop out of your head and into your chest. Notice any tightness there, any holding, the place where you have been guarding. Do not try to fix it. Just put your awareness on it, the way you would put a warm hand on a frightened child. And now, on your next exhale, let it soften just slightly. Let the guarding loosen by 1 degree. Tell that place, it is safe to receive now. It is safe to be full. Feel even the smallest release. That release you just felt, however small, is the actual work. That is the receiver widening in real time. And I want you to mark this moment, because moments like this are where the season actually turns. If you felt even 1 degree of loosening just now, comment the words, "It is safe." Say it as permission you are finally giving yourself. Say it as the vow of vigilance beginning to lift. The ones who let their bodies soften are the ones who will be able to hold what is coming without flinching. Now let me draw together everything we have uncovered, because you are about to see the whole picture, and the whole picture is what sets you free. Remember the question I gave you earlier, the one I asked you to hold. What if the reason you cannot feel that you passed is not a spiritual failure at all, but the physical state of the instrument you use to perceive God moving? Everything we have named tonight has been circling that question. The guarded receiver, the frightened protector, the mind tuned to static, the narrowing under pressure. All of it points to one place. The condition of your mind is not just a spiritual matter, it is also a physiological one. And the two are far more linked than the communities that raised most of us ever taught. Because here is what the wisdom traditions always knew, and what science has only recently been able to measure. A mind held too long in stress does not simply feel worse, it functions differently. It loses access to its own fuller range. The two sides of it stop working together the way they were designed to. And when that integration is lost, so is a great deal of what you would call intuition, clarity, discernment, the very faculties you rely on to sense what God is doing and to recognize provision when it comes near. This is not a metaphor, this is measurable. And it means the repair of your receiver is not only a matter of prayer and decision, as vital as those are. It is also a matter of restoring the physical state your mind was always meant to operate in, which is exactly what almost no one is told, and exactly where this message is about to become the most practical thing you have heard in a long time. So let me close the loop I opened earlier, the one about the team of scientists who spent years studying why a mind under long pressure loses access to its fuller capacity and whether that access can be restored. I told you their finding reframes everything about why you feel half present to your own blessings. Here is the heart of it. and then I am going to show you why it matters for you tonight specifically. What they confirmed is that the state we have been calling the guarded receiver is not permanent and is not a character flaw. It is a physiological pattern, a loss of synchronization between the two halves of the mind, and it can be resynchronized. The narrowing can be reversed. The instrument can be retuned, which means the thing you have been treating as just who I am now, tired, foggy, unable to feel the good, is not who you are. It is a state you are in, and states can change. I want to pause on the weight of that before we go further, because if you have been listening closely, you may have just realized something that most messages like this never say out loud. Everything you have learned tonight about the guarded receiver is true, but on its own, understanding is not repair. You can fully understand that your mind has narrowed and still be unable to widen it by willpower alone, the same way you can fully understand that you are exhausted and still be unable to simply decide to feel rested. The insight is necessary, but the insight is not the whole medicine. And if you leave tonight with only the insight, you will agree with every word and wake up tomorrow in the same narrowed state, wondering why nothing moved. So the real question, the one everything has been building toward, is this. If the receiver is a physical state and not just a set of beliefs, then how do you actually change the state? How do you move a mind that has been stuck in survival back into the synchronized open condition where it can perceive and hold what God is releasing? That is not a question you can answer with more trying. Trying is a survival state activity. You cannot force your way into rest. The door into the open state has a different kind of handle, and in a moment I am going to put that handle in your hand. But first I have to make sure you actually understand what you would be repairing in the plainest possible terms, because the next part only matters if this part is clear. So let me say it without a single metaphor. Here is the why. For years your mind has been running in a defensive, narrowed mode because it had to survive real pressure. That mode kept you alive, and it also cut you off from your own clarity, your intuition, and your ability to feel provision arriving. Here is the what. The two halves of your mind, which were designed to work in synchronization, fell out of sync under that prolonged stress, and that loss of sync is the physical reality underneath the fog, the anxiety, and the strange inability to feel the good things that are already happening to you. And here is the who. You are not a broken or faithless person. You are a faithful person operating through an instrument that has been knocked out of tune by a long, hard season, and the instrument can be tuned again. That clarity you now have is real, but clarity alone is not movement. You know exactly what is wrong and exactly why. The only question left is the practical one. Now that you know, what do you actually do with it? Because everything in you that just leaned forward, everything that whispered, yes, that is me, that is exactly what I have been living, is the part of you that is ready for the answer, not the concept. The answer, the actual means of retuning the instrument. So let me finally show you what the team I mentioned discovered and what they built out of it, because it is the most direct path I have ever found to the open state. And it is the reason I could promise you at the very beginning that the receiving can genuinely be restored. In 1981, something was proven in a laboratory that most people sitting in spiritual communities have never been told about. A researcher named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for a body of work on the two hemispheres of the human mind. What he helped establish is that these two halves were designed to operate in synchronization, and that when they do, a person has access to a fuller state, more creative, more perceptive, more whole, than when the two sides are running apart. The pieces that came after his work filled in the rest of the picture. In childhood, Nearly all of us live in that synchronized, whole state. Studies of young children place the vast majority at a level of creative capacity we would call genius. But as the years pass, under the weight of modern life, chronic stress, and constant pressure, that synchronization gradually erodes until fewer than 1 in 1,000 adults still maintains it. This is not a spiritual failure. It is a physiological reality. The very thing we have been calling the guarded receiver has a measurable signature, and it is the loss of that whole brain synchronization. Before I tell you what came of this, let me tell you about 2 people, because the research is only as real as what it does in a life. A woman from California described what it felt like before she found this. She had tried everything: prayer, journaling, meditation, every practice her community offered, and she kept arriving at the same place. She believed the words. She simply could not feel the reality behind them, not in her body, not in the texture of her days. After about 10 days, she said something cleared. A channel that had been blocked was suddenly open, not because she tried harder, because the receiver had been repaired. A man from Texas described something similar. Someone who had spent years holding things together for everyone around him, while his own inner life went thin and distant. He said prayer had started to feel like talking into a wall. The frequency was right, but the receiver was off. About 2 weeks later, he woke and described his mind as finally running on everything it was supposed to run on. The fog that had been so constant, he had stopped even noticing it as fog was simply gone. And that is because of what a team of neuroscientists discovered and then built. That team, led by Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York, spent years on a single problem. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized settings, and through an intensive process of compression and refinement, they turned it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day, headphones, eyes closed. That is the entire physical requirement. They call it the Genius Switch. It is not a brainwave product, not a meditation app, not a sound designed to put you in a mood. It is a targeted auditory sequence engineered on the foundation of that Nobel Prize research to reconnect the 2 hemispheres and restore the whole brain synchronization that was your default state as a child. And if you have tried the ordinary tracks before and found them hollow, Dr. Barone addresses that directly. Those products target only a fraction of the picture. Sound alone is incomplete. What he and his team built works at the level of hemisphere synchronization itself, using a multi-layer protocol refined over years of clinical work. That is a different mechanism, and it produces a different category of result. It is, in the most literal sense I can offer you, a way to retune the receiver. Now let me say who this is actually for, because it is not for everyone, and pretending otherwise would dishonor you. The Genius Switch is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared not only the promise, but the mind that must walk into it. The person who has been sincere for years, who has done the work, who has felt the call clearly and kept returning to it even when the evidence refused to cooperate, and who is finally willing to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something with a specific address. Most people who hear about this will move right past it. They have accepted the reduced version of their mind as permanent. You are still here. That is not an accident. That is the exact kind of persistence that belongs to the person this was built for. Let me tell you what it costs, and I want you to hear the numbers in the light of everything we have said. Colleagues who saw what this does told Dr. Barone it would be an incredible value even at $500. And that is not an exaggeration when you consider that comparable work in person can run $300 an hour, and the equipment to do it at home can cost several thousand, but it was not released at $500. Not at $200, not at $100. It was released at $49, and today, on the page his team set up, there is an additional $10 off, $39. Plus 4 things they include at no cost. A guided visualization from a top creator on the Calm app, walking you through seeing your life unfold across money, love, health, and happiness. A practical grocery guide that shows the everyday foods that fuel mental fog and the shortcuts that can save you over $100 a month. A manifestation text more than a century old, considered by many the root of the modern teachings on drawing provision toward you. And a printable guide to the 5 habits that most shape the future you are building. All of it included. And here is the part that should let your shoulders come down. It is backed by a complete, unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen to it once, listen to it 80 times. If it does not do for you what it has done for more than 18,000 people, every dollar comes back to you. No conditions. Which means the only thing you are actually risking tonight is the possibility that your receiver gets repaired. Now hear this clearly, because it is the truest form of urgency there is, and it has nothing to do with a countdown. The provision God has already placed near you becomes visible in the synchronized state, in a way it simply does not in the partial state. Not because the provision is new, because the receiver that can recognize it is finally restored. What has been arranged for you is already in motion. The only question is whether you arrive at the meeting point with the receiver online. Every week it stays disrupted is another week that what was released moves past, a mind still tuned to static. One thing worth naming directly so you are not misled. If you go searching and find tracks with similar names, understand that the barrier to labeling something is essentially zero. The team looked at many of them and found most carried no real neural sync at all. The name is easy to copy, the mechanism is not. The mechanism only exists in what his team actually built, and the direct page is the only verified source. That is where the link below points. So if your spirit resonates with what has been described, the link in the description and in the pinned comment points to where Dr. Barone and his team made it available, and nowhere else. You can read everything on their page before you decide anything. Nothing about this asks you to move faster than your own pace. And now let me bring you back, because a tool is only ever a tool. The instrument does not replace God. It does not replace obedience. It does not surrender for you, and it does not close any door for you. What God is doing in you is not conditional on anything you buy, but a tool that restores the receiver simply gives what God is already doing, more of what it was designed to land in. The deeper current of this message is where we return now. And for the chosen one who felt something stir when the mind was mentioned earlier, that door is still open in the description. It is a small step, but small steps taken from a clear mind have changed entire seasons. That is the last I will say of it. The rest of what remains here belongs to something else entirely. Because I want to take you into the future one more time, and this time I want it to land in your body, not just your imagination. I want you to close your eyes if you can, and I want you to build a scene with me, slowly. See yourself 1 year from now, not a fantasy version, you, recognizable, but lighter. The lines of worry around your eyes have softened because they are used less. You are standing in a room in your own life, and something has arrived that you had prayed about for years. Provision, an open door, a resource that closes a chapter of fear. And here is what I want you to notice in the scene. You are not clutching it. Your hands are open. You are receiving it calmly, as a person receives what they always knew was theirs, because by now the receiver has been repaired, and reception has become natural to you. Now feel the truth underneath the scene. That version of you is not a stranger you have to become. That version of you is who you already are on the other side of a healed receiver. The provision does not create that peace. The peace is what lets you finally hold the provision. And you are closer to that room than you have been in years, because tonight you stopped calling your fog a failure and started calling it what it is, a state that can change. So let me give you the reframe to carry, the one sentence that reorganizes everything. You have not been failing a test. You have been passing a verification, and the verification is complete. Say it inside yourself now, and let your body register it as a fact rather than a wish. I passed. I am funded from this moment. My only work now is to receive. And if you feel that settling into you, if you feel the ground of it under your feet, then claim it out loud in the one way that marks it. Comment the words, "from this moment," not as a hope for a future date, as a declaration that the turn has already happened, that you are stepping over the line tonight from the striving season into the receiving one. The ones who name the crossing are the ones who walk it. Let your breath slow now, because we are moving toward the ceiling of this, and I do not want you to rush past it. Feel your body in the place where you are sitting. Feel the weight of you held by the chair, by the floor, by the earth, by the same grace that has held the roof up all this time, without ever needing your worry to do it. Let yourself be held for a moment, the way you have been held all along without knowing it. The vigilance can rest here. The ledger can close for the night. The verdict is already in, and it is good, and it does not depend on you staying afraid. Before I speak the final blessing over you, I want to leave something practical in your hands, a way of living that keeps the receiver open once this message ends, because insight fades but practice holds. I will give you 3 simple movements, and together they form a posture you can return to every single day. The first movement is the morning verdict. Before your feet touch the floor, before the ledger can start, you speak the result over yourself. I passed. I am funded from this moment. My work today is to receive. You are not lying to yourself. You are choosing which truth your mind wakes up tuned to, the static of threat or the signal of provision. Whichever one you speak first tends to be the one your day runs on. The second movement is the exhale of proof. Every time something good happens today, however small, and you feel that old reflex to brace for the fall, you will catch it, and you will exhale, and you will let the good thing be real. This is the guarded receiver widening in real time, one exhale at a time. You are retraining an instrument that spent years tuned to danger. It does not take heroic effort. It takes repetition. The third movement is the open hand. Once a day, literally open your hands, palms up, for the length of a single slow breath, and let it mean what the body always understands it to mean. I am no longer clutching. I am no longer defending. I am here to receive what has already been released. Do that for 30 days and watch how differently you begin to notice the openings that were always there. The provision was never the thing in short supply. Your capacity to catch it was, and capacity can be rebuilt. Now there is one more thing I want to ask of you, and it is not for you. It is for the person God is about to reach through you. Somewhere in your life, there is another chosen one who is exactly where you were an hour ago. Someone who has been faithful and honest and is convinced they are failing. Someone whose shoulders are up around their ears. Someone who cannot feel a single blessing because their receiver has been narrowed by a season that would have broken most people. You know their face. It just came to mind. That person needs to hear that they passed, and you may be the one heaven has appointed to carry this to them. So share this message with them quietly, the way you would hand a lantern to someone lost in the dark. You do not have to explain it. Just send it, and let the same words that reached you tonight go and find them. That is how a crossing becomes a bridge. One person who was funded turns and holds the door for the next. And feel this before we seal it. You reaching back for that person is itself proof of the healed receiver. The narrowed mind hoards, the open mind gives. The very impulse to bless someone else is evidence that the repair has already begun in you tonight. You are not who you were an hour ago. Something in you has already widened, and what widens to give is what widens to receive. They are the same opening. So let the last of the striving fall away now. Let the old identity of the anxious applicant stay behind in the season it belonged to. You are not that person anymore. You are the approved one, the verified one, the heir whose name was moved to the second list while you were too tired to notice. And from here, everything is different, because from here, you are no longer trying to pass. You already passed. Now you simply learn, day by day, open hand by open hand, how to receive what a good Father has already released, with your name written on it. So let us seal this now, chosen one. Let everything in you grow still, because what happens in these last minutes is not decoration. It is the sealing of a verdict over your life, and I want you present for it. Let me begin with gratitude, not as a performance, but as a settling. Thank you, Father, for the years that looked like failure and were verification. Thank you for the delay that was not neglect, but the widening of a receiver too narrow to hold what was coming. Thank you for holding the roof up through every season this one was too afraid to trust it. And thank you that the check is finished, the grading is done, and the word over this life is passed. We receive that word now. We stop arguing with it. We let it be true. And now, before the declaration, there is something to set down, because you cannot walk into a receiving season with clenched hands, so release it with me. Release the ledger you have carried since before you can remember. Release the vow of vigilance that kept you awake and kept you dry-mouthed in the middle of the night. Release the belief that your worry was holding anything together. Release the loyalty to your own smallness. Release the fear that being full would make you someone you would not recognize. Release the years you called wasted. Release the name applicant. Release the ache of feeling behind. Let all of it fall from your open hands, and feel how much lighter the receiver becomes the moment you stop gripping. And now rise into who you are, because this is the one true peak of everything I have spoken tonight. Hear these words not as encouragement, but as identity, spoken over you and received by you. You are not the anxious applicant. You are the approved heir. You are not failing. You are funded from this moment on. You are not behind. You are exactly on time for a provision that waited for your receiver to be ready. You are not the one who must earn it. You are the one for whom it was already signed. You are chosen. You are verified. You are open. You are ready. And from this moment on, you receive. Let that declaration settle all the way down, and then, if it is true in you, seal it with your own voice in the one place it becomes a record. Comment the words, "I am funded from this moment." Say it not as a wish flung at the sky, but as a fact you are finally standing on. This is the declaration that closes the striving season, and the ones who speak it are the ones who wake tomorrow already living on the other side of the line. There is one more thing, and then I will let you go into your rest. If this message found you, if it lifted even 1 pound off your chest tonight, let it reach the next tired heart it was meant for. Gently pass it on, so it finds the one who is right now convinced they failed, and lets them hear the verdict they have been starving for. You are not sharing a video, you are handing a lantern down the line. And so, chosen one, hear the final word over you as you go. The exam is over. The result is in. You passed. You can stop bracing now. You can let your shoulders down. You can sleep tonight like someone whose future is no longer in question, because it is not. What was released is on its way to a receiver that is finally opening to catch it. The worry can end here. The receiving begins now. It is finished. It is sealed. It is done.